Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Behind Your Eyes interview series. And today I'm talking to Analena. Analena, could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, welcome everybody. My name is Analena, and I am a mom. I am an entrepreneur. I used to work in corporate, and I know how it is, the difference between working in corporate, being a mom, and now being an entrepreneur, or juggling all these things together, which sometimes can be quite stressful. I do currently live in Florida, which I really enjoy the sunshine here, but I am originally from Germany. That's really where I grew up and spent most of my life at. So, and I'm really, really happy to be here to, share a little bit about my wisdom, my journey, what I have overcome, and hopefully provide you with some really helpful tools that can be really useful for you as well.
Thank you so much for being here and wanting to share that with us. And I want to start this series with a sincere, how are you doing?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I want to start the series with a very sincere, how are you doing?
How are you doing? No, I think it's funny actually, because here in America, I live in the United States, right? And people are always like, hey, how are you? And I don't really take it serious because there's often not a sincere interest, really like, hey, how are you really feeling? Because when you say like, oh, I'm not so good, people kind of, it's very hard for people like, okay, what am I gonna do now? It's more like, how are you? How are you? It's like a thing here in America. But thank you for asking sincerely. I'm well. I am well. I have to say that actually. So, but thank you for really, really caring, because it's so often where it's just the thing we say without really meaning it, right?
Yeah, people tend to ask the question without wanting to know the answer. Yeah. And how have these last 2 years, with the pandemic, and how has it affected you mentally, if at all?
So this is interesting because, and I'm really gonna be really honest. So I love to be at home. I have no problem being at home. Like, I'm a home person. I also like to travel. I also do like to go outside, but I'm not a person, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm more like an introvert. I'm empath. I really fall into that category. And before the pandemic, I already had been doing a lot of inner work, processing my emotions and digging up past stuff, which we call trauma and things like that, right? So when the pandemic started, especially 2020 for me was actually an amazing year. And I was like, wow, this was amazing. I actually had the time to be by myself more. And so I actually enjoyed that the world was slowing down.
Yeah.
If that really makes sense. And I'm actually, as we speak, and I think you have seen this, I'm actually now launching a podcast, which is called The Art of Slowing Down to Quantum Leap. So for me, really honestly, I have enjoyed it from that perspective. Now, 2021 as well. I mean, some of the challenges, so let's talk about, of course, there were also some challenges, was a little bit with the school was closed, so my daughter stayed much more at home. I'm running my business from home. I have to say there were some days where because you're trying to juggle it all.
Yeah.
And you want to do it perfect. You want to, make money in your business. I mean, you have to keep showing up, right? And enjoy what you're doing as well. And then take care of the children and cook. And also then I felt like all of a sudden I also became a teacher. And I did really feel overwhelmed. I was like, okay, I need to get out of the house. And so I had those moments definitely as well, but it wasn't for that long because luckily my daughter's school, they did not have the quarantine for that long. So she actually, the summer break was just a little bit longer. That was in 2020. And this year, it was just quite normal going back to school. Yeah.
And has these times connected you more to your purpose or true self?
During the pandemic?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So because actually, honestly speaking, now looking at hindsight, and again, you will know this about me, I love human design. That's one of the modalities I really use in my business and my coaching, which is like a personality assessment tool which is based on astrology and other things. And that is one thing that came my way a little bit, I think, before or very early on in the pandemic. And that totally put me into my purpose, because it was so much my calling that it wasn't even funny. I mean, it was funny. It was a delight, to be honest.
Yeah.
And my business has really totally shifted and changed and expanded. And I really feel so, like, before human design entered or found me, I always say it found me, I knew I was a coach, and that I knew in my heart, and I felt really right. And I was already being a spiritual business coach, but it was not 100% clear where I'm going, or I was still feeling like I'm missing maybe something. So there was still a little bit of like feeling lost.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, when human design found me, I was just, since then, it has been clear. I just know it, and it's clear, and it, yeah, it's just so definitely. And this is, I think, also why for me personally, the whole pandemic has been such a blessing in a way, because it also allowed me personally to slow down and reflect more, and really get to know myself even deeper on a deeper level. And I had those tools, like when emotions came up and things like that, I have the tools like how to process that. Now, if I wouldn't had that, I think it would have been a little bit more challenging. But from that perspective, yeah, the pandemic really aligned me very, very straightforward into my purpose. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Wow. And being a spiritual person, how do you stay grounded in these quite mentally overwhelming times?
So, I mean, I have several things that really keep me grounded. One is I love to meditate. I like to exercise. Most recently has been like a half marathon training, and I really be outside in nature. And I live here in South Florida, so I have to say, because I grew up in Germany, right? So growing up in Germany, and I know how the weather is, I think that would have been much more of a challenge. But here, especially like right now, we're in the winter time, it's just incredibly gorgeous outside, and just going out in the morning and the sun and the fresh air, and it's just incredible. Or jumping into the pool. I've done that several times. I have a pool close by. So going to the gym, even like working with my clients really grounds me, because I just enjoy that so much, you know, working with them, doing human design readings, spending time with my daughter, my loved ones. So
all the things give you good energy.
Yeah, or cooking good foods, those like the basic things really in life, more really connecting back to those. Yeah.
The basic things are usually the most important things.
Yeah. And I have really made a point, and again, this is also me being a highly sensitive person, because when I consume too much social media, what's going on in the news, that really highly impacts me. And I have been doing this for years. I want to say 5 or 6 years, and I have made a very conscious choice to not be watching the news all the time and things like that. Now, I also don't want to be ignorant, but I do have my close circle of friends that keep me informed when something is really important.
Yeah.
But I have not been following the fear and the scares and the conspiracy theories. Very early on, it came my way, and I noticed how it's really impacting me in a bad way, because there were these two sides, one all against, one's all pro. And that's when I noticed, okay, I'm not here to take sides. I have my personal opinion. I respect yours and everybody's. Everybody has to make their own choice, and that's that. I have to take those actions that I believe are right for me and everybody else, right? So in my life. And that, I think that has been a huge thing, because I can imagine constantly watching the news and like feeding your mind with all the scares and the fears that would not have been healthy for me. So I choose to do that.
It's important to have healthy boundaries like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been the same for me, because at first, when the pandemic was just starting, I was like consuming all the news, and because it was new and it was scary and you want to know everything about it. But this last year, I've been hardly watching any news. I still keep informed when I have to,
Yeah.
But I don't watch news as much anymore because you hear so many opinions and so many fear-based opinions, and I'm like, I'm so over that. So I'm like, okay, I'm keeping informed, I'm keeping to the basics and not allowing myself to be overwhelmed by the fear and fake news and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important to keep yourself, grounded as well.
No, and even before the pandemic, that was a really big conscious choice I made in my life, and it has been a game changer, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. And is there something that you have like always struggled with, maybe mentally?
So I can't say always, but growing up as a child, I had a lot of anxiety and fears.
Mm.
So and actually as a child, I was scared of things, that something bad would happen, and was worried about my family. And then there were also some things that really got me worried in the 3D world. So, and talking about, I guess this is about mental health, right? So I did have anorexia when I was in my teenager years.
Wow.
So I was, I think 12, 13,
Mm.
so like 15, 16, that age category where this was really happening in my life. Now it was really like my circumstances. I didn't like the school that I was going to. I wanted to get, for me, it was the only way to get attention from my parents.
Mm.
And somehow food was always a really big topic in my family,
Mm.
because I grew up like eating really healthy organic foods, and somehow food was the closest thing. Like it was the one place in my life where I felt like I can have control, I think,
Mm.
now looking in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
So I could control that, but at the end of the day, I was harming myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
understand how it feels. As a teenager, I had severe anxiety as well. And I think it was also because I'm a very sensitive, like high sensitive person. And
mhm.
I've always been like an anxious kid. So
Yeah.
that grew into like a really big phobia. So yeah, I think that it's also when you're already susceptible to it, like I am, that it can
Mm.
really grow to something like bigger than just a small anxiety, if you can call it that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a big,
Yeah. And then I do remember that as I was starting college and my early 20s and stuff, I did have panic attacks here and there, which
yeah,
again is, you start to hyperventilate, anxiety. So it's always like a combination of, yeah, anxiety and fears, basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I did not have a way to, I didn't know how to deal with it. I thought there was something wrong with me, or I felt I'm not strong enough, or I'm not confident like others. So,
yeah,
and I think we probably all, and I did myself, especially when I was having the uh, anorexia, right?
mm,
I of course I saw lots of therapists and things like that.
yeah,
But it was helpful in some way to talk, right?
yeah,
I didn't have the tools like, okay, how can I release the anxiety? How can is this something I'm going to have all my life, or is this something that
right,
I can
yeah,
actually shift? Now, I can tell you now it's way different. So almost like where I'm at right now, I'm like, I don't really know how it was, because when you first asked me, I almost noticed, I almost forgot,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But no, for the most part of my life, I want to say until my mid-20s, I'm now, if you want to hear, I'm almost 40. So for a really, really big part of my life, actually, I want to say early 30s. Yeah, early 30s. And yeah, because really, I have been on my own healing journey for the last 5, 6 years,
mhm,
really deeply. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I have a similar journey like yours with my phobia, and in my like mid-teens to even mid-20s I dealt with that, and now I'm also about to turn 40, and it's like that person is so different than who I am today. And you almost
Mhm.
forget what you have been through.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, our story really matters, right? And it
Yeah,
can be really helpful for others that may be there yet still when we share our stories, and like,
yeah,
hey, look,
absolutely.
it's there, but it's possible to shift it.
Yeah, and it was a long and even difficult journey, but in the end you will get there. And I've read in one of your Facebook posts that we should ask ourselves, like, how do I actually benefit from my struggles? And that was very interesting to me. So could you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, and thank you for checking out my post. So that always is nice to know, because sometimes we're like, who's reading it, right? So that's awesome. Yeah, so it's basically this concept that we get. So we are humans, like we are creatures of habit, right?
Yeah.
And what is familiar to us is what our subconscious thinks it's safe, basically. Yeah. Now, let's say you have experienced anxiety all your life. Now your subconscious is like, I have anxiety, but I have survived, so I guess I need to keep that up.
Yeah.
So in a way,
your feeling and thought.
Yeah, it's on a subconscious level, and we may like want to shift it, or like, I really want to stop having anxiety and all these kind of things, but when you have these anxiety episodes, for example, we get attention from people, right? We like have people care for us, so maybe we like that, right? And again, it's not like, oh, we do this intentionally in a way, but anything that has been something that we have been experiencing on a consistent basis is sort of a habit, is something that subconsciously is something that's safe for us, and we always want to be what's safe. Like our subconscious, like we get into a fight or flight when we embark on something new, right? That's why habit change is so challenging for people, and that's why people, they set their New Year's resolutions and they do it for 2 weeks, and then things are going really well, and the subconscious is like, oh no, this is way too good, this cannot be possible, let's go back to my old sabotaging habits, right? And in that way, it's like we may subconsciously actually benefit from the struggles, because we might not have to take on all the responsibility because we have these issues going on, and other people feel sorry for us and they want to help us more. I mean, they're so does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. How do you notice that? How can you, is it that you like question your negative emotions or thoughts and go like, okay, you really have to ask yourself that question, like, okay, I'm noticing that I'm thinking this a lot or having this feeling a lot. What can I do about it? Like, how can you change it?
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say it is very powerful to have another person reflect it back to you. I mean, I'm a coach, right? I really believe in the power of coaching. It's sometimes very hard for us humans to see it ourselves, like where oh, I'm actually doing this, and like, wow, I actually don't want to do this anymore, but I'm kind of addicted to it because, oh yeah, I have a benefit. It's not easy to see it ourselves, right? But of course, the power very powerful, it out to the universe, be like, okay, where in my life do I have habits that are not really good for me, but I like it. I'm addicted to it in some way or form. Can you show me? Can you bring this to my awareness? That's how I would personally start, because the universe always delivers to our questions. And when you have a sincere wish or a sincere intention to be aware of where you are sabotaging yourself, you know, where you're doing something that's not good for you, but you kind of like it because it still kind of feels safe for you, it may come, and it may come to your awareness from your own inner awareness, or it may come to you through another person bringing it to your attention, right?
Yeah. Sometimes people come into your life and they're like a mirror to you.
Yes. And I mean, human design has also tremendously helped me with that, because some people, they are more internally processing those things. The other people, it's more through the experiences with other people. So it will be different. There's not like one way how it works, how it works for everybody, right?
Not a one size fits all technique for this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned also being high sensitive and an introvert. And do you feel that this world has more like focus for like extroverted people, that it serves extroverted people more?
So yes, in the way of how the mainstream media, or also, since again I'm a coach, coaching industry is set up, it is more for because for example, I'll just give you one example, like social media, right? It's always this like, you're going to show up on social media 3 times a day at these times and be consistent and those kind of things. Oh, people are now starting to dance in front of the camera and do like, oh, and here and this and like, so, and then we start to think, okay, that's what I have to do to run a business, and we get discouraged because I can't do it and things like that, right? But I have actually learned that, okay, so here's the thing, because I did not fully embrace my hypersensitivity, my introvertness, I still felt deep inside, oh, there's something wrong with me. Of course, from that, so I was rejecting myself in a way for a long time. And from that place, of course, those strategies, they never worked for me, right?
Yeah. No.
And that's what's mostly being taught out there. Oh, I'm going to teach you my 5-step process, how I became successful.
Yeah.
Okay, they work for you, but it does not necessarily work for me. And that's what most people fall into, because they want to have a solution. They think somebody else has a solution for them. And that's very extrovert based, right?
Yeah.
But your answer is always on the inside, which is actually, that's an introvert approach, right? So, and I also honestly believe that we all humans, we have some level of introvertness, because we live, it's duality, right? And even myself, I can be extrovert, but it comes from me fully surrendering into my this hermit space, like withdrawing from people and just being with me and reflecting on things, right? And as I have fully embraced who I am, and that I like a more quiet approach, not be so in people's face and do things that ultimately that just did not feel good. And anytime I forced something, it just didn't work. And why? So at some point, I was like, okay, I have tried it. I've learned my lesson. It doesn't work. I've invested tens of thousands of dollars, and enough is enough, right? So let me do it my way, the way that feels good to me. And I have learned that I can show up consistently in a way that feels good to me. I can be consistent showing up once a week. That is better than pushing it for 2 weeks and showing up 3 times a day on social media. And then you're so sick and tired and burned out, and then you don't do anything for 2 months, and then you have to, it's really that slowly, consistently over time, but do it in a way that really feels good to you.
Right? That comes more from the heart, and it's not forced.
And I can also be so much more confident, right? Because I talk about the 3 C's, which is like clarity, confidence, and consistency. And like the clarity, and like, what is it that I want to talk about, right? And that takes some time. It takes some time to reflect on things. What's really that passion in my head? What is it that I'm really good at?
What's the message that I want to convey?
Yeah, who are the people that I target? Like for example, I mainly work with introvert entrepreneurs, because that's who I am, right? We're always our own best clients in a way. And then I can show up confidently when I show up, when I feel like it, when I feel like I'm in that energy where I really want to share this really powerful message. And if that's just once a week, right? Then I do that consistently. And that really has shown me, and I mean, first of all, it feels good. It's fun. It also has shown in the 3D world externally that's really definitely much more my success recipe. And it's not like a cookie cutter solution. Like you find your consistency, and you can totally be visible and out there in the world, being an introvert, being highly sensitive.
And what do you think are like the pros and cons of being in this industry, like as an online entrepreneur?
Being an introvert, or in general?
In general.
So what are the advantages of being?
And the pros and cons of being on this online industry?
So for me, it's a huge pro, because I mean, for me personally, first of all, because I used to work in corporate 9 to 5, and I never felt home. I always felt I'm meant for so much more. But you feel like, oh, you have to make money to live and pay your bills, right? So, but the advantage of having my own online business is, number one, I can set my own schedule. You know, if I want to take a day off, I do that. You know, I don't have to ask permission from my boss and then feel bad and like, oh, I may get written up because, you know, or they may cut my pay or things like that, right? So, which is a lot fear-based. That freedom component was always one of the biggest things for me, and have really flexibility, because I feel personally really constricted in my freedom when I have like 5 days a week, this 9 to 5, and it's like, okay, what am I doing with my life, right? Then you get home, get the stuff done for the day, and it's next day, and on the weekend you feel exhausted and tired, and then Monday around the corner, right? Then the other thing is location independence is huge for me, because again, if you work for a company and like you got to live where the company is, right? And that's actually one of the things that I thought was amazing about the pandemic, one of the positive side effects, that it actually, you know, allowed so many more people to start working from home. And now I think people actually, even though they work for a company now, there are more remote positions out there. So I think that is even now kind of has flown into the 9 to 5 world a little bit, which I'm pretty happy.
It's part of a mindset shift, I think.
Yeah. The other thing with the online space is that I can have access, or I can reach an unlimited amount of people. Well, unlimited, as many people as there are on Earth, but it's quite a bit, right? So really the sky is the limit in some way, because I have clients in Germany, I have clients in the US, I have clients in Australia. So that's just so cool. I love that, right? Always, I feel like I'm all around the globe. So that's
a
just
great impact.
And I really feel like the online space gives me now the opportunity to make global impact, because this video, anybody that has a smartphone, anybody that has an internet connection, they can possibly hear my message. Now, if I have this conversation with you at a local library that is not being recorded, I mean, it may still, right, be great impact, but there may only be 55 people there, and that's it. I mean, they may share the message, but our conversation gets lost otherwise, right?
This can reach so many more people and impact more people.
Yeah. And then the other thing is also talking about freedom, also financial freedom. It gives me the freedom to expand as much as I desire, as much I'm meant to be reaching in this lifetime, and create also financial wealth, you know, for the collective also in a way. Because working for a company, I mean, let's be real, there are quite some limitations, and you really work by the hour, and that to me is the worst concept ever, where you like work and it's like, oh, depending on how many hours you work, that's how you get paid. And now being an online entrepreneur, I love evergreen content, you know, where it's something that I created maybe a year ago. People still watch this stuff, and they come to me and like, oh my God, I watched this video of you, and then they found me, and I don't have to constantly do the work. It's there. It's like, even this, whoever's watching this right now, maybe this is a year later since we did it. And they may like, oh my God, this changed my life, right? I mean,
it's such a grateful feeling.
And it's really like, there are unlimited possibilities. There's really, I can see now how this concept of what is it called, a nomad lifestyle, or where you basically you work only 5 hours a week. It's possible. It does take time, don't get me wrong. It's not like an overnight success. I mean, I have been a coach for over 5 years now, and it has not always been easy. Like, it's not like that, right? But you keep at it, you stay at it, you stay consistent, as long as that's what you want in your heart, right? Can be very, very successful, and really anything becomes possible from that space.
And if you could talk to a younger version of yourself, what would you tell her?
Relax, be patient. It's all going to work out perfect.
That's good to know, right?
Because I would stress out too much and overthink and put pressure on myself, and really allow yourself to be shown the way. You know,
And know that as an adult, you have the tools to cope with the mental struggles that you have dealt with.
What is it?
And know that as an adult, you have the tools to cope
Oh
with.
yeah. You will be given those magical techniques to release anxiety, and you will one day even forget that you ever had that struggle.
Yeah.
So,
And what is the best advice you were ever given?
Well, I have this quote. I think it was a yoga, some kind of a meditation I listened to one time, and it's the saying, "What you resist persists, and what you accept has a capacity to change."
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it's anything we resist. And I also talking about the pandemic, there's so much resistance everywhere. What we resist persists. Anything we fight and we are against it, we're resisting it, we're giving it more power, and it grows.
Yeah.
So and because that is really all also behind the work that I do, which we call deconditioning, or releasing the roots of the anxiety from the nervous system, from the body. It's all about accepting those emotions, accepting that, oh, I have a day I feel like crap, accepting that I'm angry, accepting that I feel sad, accepting that, you know, I'm questioning myself, or accepting that I have issues setting boundaries because I have a fear of rejection, things like that, right? Like, once I got to accept those things, well, I started to set boundaries. And, you know,
it's like it doesn't come naturally to us to accept the negative feelings and emotions that we have. We tend to be like so scared and taken aback that you hold on in fear.
Yeah, so we have been conditioned, right? And this is probably what, I mean, our parents didn't know any better. That's what they learned. But it's like, boys don't cry, girls don't cry. Like, if you are crying for an hour, oh, something is wrong with you. We need to, and people get, it says, you started this, right? How are you?
Right.
And I'm going to say, oh, I really feel bad today. And people are, oh, what am I going to do now? It's really uncomfortable, right? Like, they can't handle it because they can't handle their own negative emotions mostly, right?
Yeah.
So this is really one of the biggest things that I have become really, really good at. I can receive it from others. Like, I'm just here to listen, and I'm not judging you. Like, just get it all out. And that in itself is such a release for people, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm a mom, and with my daughter sometimes, because I used to be myself, like, oh, stop crying, and stop it. And it would go on for hours and hours on a very difficult day. And once I realized, like, let me just encourage her to just cry and get it out, and let me tell her it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. Let it out. And then it was like 2 minutes, and boom, it was gone. I was like, ooh, this is cool. Yeah, and I have to say, it was the hardest to apply to myself, because I still found myself many times when I had a day where I just felt low, or like I just want to hide under the sheets and do nothing. I'm still judging myself. And that was, I was resisting it. I was resisting it, that I was feeling this way, that I had a day where I felt off, right? And again, it's still not perfect. Like, we're always work in progress in a way, right? But I have really become so much better at, like, I'm kind of pissed today, and I feel like really, and I'm not taking this out on other people. I'm just processing this myself. Like, where's this coming from? Like, how do I really feel? And I use my tools to release that emotional charge from my body, because emotions, they want to be felt. And we have all, I don't want to say all, but the majority of us has been conditioned to suppress our negative emotions. We have been trained to resist our negative emotions. And what happens physiologically in the body is, like, we keep suppressing negative emotions. Over time, they will just come out even stronger. I mean, that's a saying from, I think, from Carl Jung. I don't have the quote in front of me, but it's something like, the longer you wait, they will just come out nastier later. Because there's no way around. Like, anything in nature, it flows, and also emotions, they flow. And if we interrupt the natural flow through distracting ourselves. Like that's how we suppress emotions, right? We're just like, oh, let me just watch TV, or let me just eat some candy because I feel kind of yucky. And it's also emotional eating is a thing. It's called emotional eating because we eat the stuff because we want to avoid feeling a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So, and the sugar gives us this like, oh my God, I feel amazing. And it doesn't last really long. And then you're in this vicious cycle.
Yeah, and the negative emotions come back even stronger.
Yeah, and people get into this vicious cycle. And when you get to really, and it takes practice, like with anything, it's building a habit. It does not happen overnight. And it is much easier when you have a guide or a mentor, or there even, I think nowadays, therapists out there that really do that work as well with helping you feel your emotions and not just talk therapy.
Yeah.
But that for me has been the biggest game changer, to really accept and feel my emotions without making a big deal out of it. Like, let me be sad for a couple of, let me cry it out.
Yeah, right? And accept them as they are, like the good emotions and the bad emotions.
Yeah, because again, like, there's actually one analogy that I always share, which I think may be really helpful to people that are watching this. So it's like day and night, right? We have day and night, and day is the positive emotions and the night is the negative emotions. So what we do as humans is we suppress the negative emotions, like, you're bad, we don't want you. So we're resisting them. So what that would look like when we look at day and night is like, oh yeah, we live the day, we're up and down, and when the night comes, we resist the night. I'm gonna sleep, I'm gonna fight it. So I'm not allowing the darkness to be there and just close my eyes and sleep, right? I would fight it. I would try to stay up. So what happens then, if I resist the night by not wanting to sleep and forcing myself to be up and forcing myself to be in the positive emotions, but they're not there right now. The sun is not shining right now. Like what happens, like once the sun comes out, once the day is there, which is the positive emotions, I cannot fully enjoy it. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm grumpy. And that actually happens when we have these suppressed negative emotions in the body. We cannot fully live this level of joy and love and all these really positive vibrations that are available for us.
Because you're suppressing your negative emotions, but by doing that, you also suppress some of those positive emotions.
Yeah, you're creating, it's like a block. It's like almost a wall you're creating around your heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's not just the negative that you're pushing away, but you can, like you say, fully enjoy the positive ones.
Yeah. And because the how I noticed that once is also, I took a training and I always talk about, you have to be grateful, right? Because from a place of gratitude, you can attract more. And I could not force myself to feel grateful. It was like, I felt like, what's wrong with me? I cannot just turn on the switch and pretend. Like, I could logically write it down what I'm grateful for, but I wasn't really feeling it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when I stopped forcing it and just really went into the gunk, all this like this really uncomfortable stuff, and felt it all, as nasty as it was at the time, or uncomfortable, let's say. And all of a sudden it came naturally. It was there. The gratitude was there within me, but I didn't have to actively force it or anything like that. So you have love, you have gratitude, you have joy, and all of those emotions there within you, but they may be hidden under a whole bunch of layers of suppressed negative emotion.
And do you have any like daily rituals to like clear your mind of those negative emotions?
So I use some energy healing modalities. I mean, and again, this is more what I do with my clients, but one of the things that can be helpful, but again, this is something you really have to practice consistently, right? And really follow your heart if you want to have guidance with that, or really just do it yourself. But one of the things is like, really notice where in your body can you feel the sadness or the anger, because it may be, usually it's like some kind of a tightness or heaviness. So oftentimes people feel really almost like a ball in their throat or in their stomach or even their chest, really tight. And just be with that. It's uncomfortable, but be with that and deeply breathe into those sensations, because and I always like to make this connection. Imagine that's the little you when you were a little girl, because there's always that connection. And just love her up, give her a big hug, imaginary, and just let her be sad, let her cry, let her be, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing, which has also been huge for me, is it's a modality that I got certified in. It's called the rapid relief technique, which is derived from tapping. So I don't know if you're familiar with this. There are these different tapping points, right?
Yeah.
And the original way how I learned it was like, we more talk about the positive, like, oh, even though I feel this way, I'm happy, and da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
And the way that this technique works is that you really say what you're thinking without sugarcoating it, just letting it out, because it's there, right? Let's stop faking it. We have those days we want to scream or we want to say certain things, and just let them out. And when you do this as you tap, we actually release also the emotions behind it. And that for me has been also really huge. And you can do this like 5 minutes a day, even while you take a shower, or I always like recommend, don't be around the people that, you know, like, let's say there's something your kids trigger you or your partner triggers you, like, don't do it right in front of them. Like, maybe do it while you're in a shower, go in the bedroom and close the door. But that can also, because there's these meridian points, and we can actually release that energy there. And it's really, it sounds very simple, but actually most people actually have so much resistance to say anything negative, because we're so in this like, oh, have a positive mindset, positive affirmations. That's all great, but we have to get the gunk out first. It's like, you cannot build a new house. Let's say you have an old house with all this clutter in there and old furniture. Like, you have to take the old furniture out before you can put in new. If you just put in the new, that's kind of what we do with these positive affirmations. It's not going to last really long, and it's going to take you hours and hours, and you may see little results. So if you take that step back and slow down and release all this inner stuff, really those suppressed emotions, from that place, these positive affirmations, it will come so much more easy and natural, and
your energy will flow in the right way.
It really shifts from you feeling like you're swimming against the current to you're swimming with a wave, and you're being fast, and things happen easy and effortless, and synchronicities are going to start to happen. It's really, you really tap into the flow of life and how easy it actually gets to be.
Because I believe in like the law of attraction and the universe, and I think the universe wants you to succeed and do well. What are you like most proud of in your life?
What am I most proud of? I mean, definitely being a mom. I'm also really proud of, you know, I left Germany and started a whole new life in America. I think that's also a pretty big step. And then launching my coaching business. I mean, I'm really, really proud of myself because it took me a lot of courage, because I do have a sense of like safety and security in my life, and, you know, which the paycheck can kind of give you, but not really, especially in America. You can just be let go from one day to the other, and you have no benefits whatsoever. But that definitely, I'm really, really proud of myself. I mean, many other things as well, all the certifications I got, but really those are the main things, being a mom, you know, starting all over your life in a different country, and starting my business that really feels aligned to my soul's calling.
When are you at your happiest?
When I'm at my happiest, I definitely love my work, because the whole human design, and when I see people like shift from really struggling in their life and feeling stuck to feeling happy, that like when I see other people really happy and be in alignment, and also not just my clients, but also my daughter, my partner, like people in my life, my family, like that just makes me really happy. And also eating good food makes me really happy, being out in nature, moving my body, traveling, listening to music. It's not just one thing, but it's just really really enjoying the moment.
Being present and enjoy.
Yeah, being present. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your answers with us. It was very motivating and inspiring, and I hope the viewers think so as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it was my honor to be here. I hope, yeah, it was helpful, beneficial for you, for anybody that's watching, and always feel free to reach out. I'm always love to connect with other solar line people, and yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.